Page 2, silver bells. 3/4 time, no sharps or flats, and the key is C major. Going to use the white keys. We'll talk about the hands and start with the right hand. You have a pickup beat. We're coming in on beat 3. 3 and, and this is the hand position really. Your thumb's down here. Lift up between the phrases, so it's 3 and 1. Lift up. That's not, you just lift up and move. And then lift up again. Cross over third finger. And then there's a rest and it gives you back up to move. Etc. You do all that some more. Go over to page 3. Now we have these thirds. Now this causes people problems. This fingering, 1, 3, 2, 4. It's important that you learn to do that, so I'm encouraging you don't shy away from this fingering. You don't have to bring out any note here, just bring them both out. And then lift up and do the same thing an octave higher. And then come down to the F position, and then up, and then back down here. Now they're saying a 5. I can't connect it if I do a 5. It's all one phrase. I need to connect this with the fingers. I know we're using pedal, I don't care. I want to do it with the fingers. So I'm going to suggest this. You're okay here to the half note. Now I'm going to suggest a 4th finger for the C, 8th note. And then a 4 one. Because that way I can connect it. Connect it all. I don't know why they're suggesting 5 there. I disagree. I would suggest you put a 4 on that C and the following C. And then lift up, move down. Now here at the end of the second line, I disagree with this phrase break here. That's not a phrase. The last measure of the second line is not a phrase. That's a slur. But I disagree with lifting up before because this leads into this, and so I would connect it. I think it's very unmusical to separate when you lead into something like that. Connect it usually. Connect it there, and you do all that wonderful stuff again. Left hand, keep the left hand soft. It's just got the chords, broken chords, C chord. Make sure the half notes are a full 2 beats, then 4 chord. And then second line, second measure, both of those, that's 5/7 chord or G chord. All 4 of those notes is a chord. We don't have to use them all at the same time. Third line, down here, you're going to use thumb to push both of those notes down. Rest, make sure you play the rest. We want to be quiet there. Rest, you don't have to say rest, but you can. You get this thumb thing in various places. Top of page 3, again, broken chords, just C chord, or the F chord, or the G7 chord, or the 5/7 chord. I'm just rolling, I'm not holding the hand still and trying to do fingers here. I'm just transferring weight from finger to finger, very gently. Well, that's pretty much it for the left hand. Keep the left hand out of the way. We're here for the melody, and that's the right hand. So I'm going to lift up the right hand for the phrase, but the left hand stays down. See, all of that in the left hand has been legato up until this point when I get the rest. I'm connecting everything until the rest. And then we do that some more. Over on page 3, left hand's going to be legato again. Okay, so the left hand is legato all the way through there until you get to the bottom and you get rest. I covered the phrasing already. The dynamics, get to know the piece. Your sort of medium, that's the melody. You'll have to decide what medium loud is, whatever. And over on page 3, first measure's loud. This is sort of an echo. It's a little softer. And then loud again. And then an echo. And come back up to loud on the second line. They don't give you a loud here. I think that's an error. Because that last measure of the first line is just an echo, just for that one measure. And then you come back to the singing, that's the loud. Now, when you get to the end of the second line, come down. Well, it has to do with shaping phrases. You're not going to stay loud all the time. You get louder and softer, and it's like on page 2. You're not going to be medium loud all the time. You get louder and softer. You have to feel this dynamics. So right there, I went up. I got a little louder on that part. Now I can come down a little bit, get soft, and then so you're going to get louder and softer as you have to experiment with it. It has to be a personal thing. Well, on page 3, we have the statement echo. But when the second line comes wrong, you know what I mean here. You're up. Then right about in here when you're ending the phrase, come down. Now here you can actually come down to medium soft or soft. And then you're getting louder there. And then statement, echo, and then the last measure, the third line, I would come back up to loud. Type thing. Then in the very end, the last 2 measures, now you're coming down to soft. You're dying away there. That's what I suggest on the dynamics. You have to get to know the piece so you can feel the music, and then you just let these dynamics happen according to how you feel it. Now they've added pedal because we need to kind of smooth this out, and we want the overtones on this. Lots of overtones. Believe it or not, I actually like the pedaling they're giving. I usually don't care for the pedaling they show in these books because they simplify it too much. But this isn't too bad. Let's talk about it. You're going to push the pedal down after you push the notes in the first measure here. Like so the eighth notes don't get pedaled. And lift the pedal up with the right hand with the phrasing here. Keep the left hand down, it's a half note. Now here it's overlapping pedal. And then lift up with the right hand, it's phrasing. Really, I'm pedaling basically the first beat or 2, sometimes it's 2 beats. I'm not pedaling the third beat is really what it is. And that's typical with a lot of waltz type stuff. Now there, the last measure, the second line, I don't pedal until the half note. I don't want to smear this. And I lift the pedal up with the right hand at the beginning of the third line. Right there. So there's no pedal on that one, and then we come up. Now, at the bottom of page 2, last 2 measures, you can overlap those. And on page 3, now it's the other way around. We're not pedaling the 8th notes. So we're not pedaling the first beat. We're pedaling the others, and we're connecting these. That's a little bit blurry in the second line, but that's okay. Now in the third measure of the second line, I don't pedal in the till the half note. The idea with the pedal. The pedal we're using to enhance the sound. You be picky with the pedal. You don't pedal unless you need to, and certainly don't pedal the whole thing. Ooh. Now, if you're not listening too close, that's not too bad. But if you're actually listening to it, that is... ugh. So be very careful with the pedaling. I'm going to do a play with me here so we can double check the notes and the rhythms. I'll try and pedal it as I've explained it, which is how they're doing it for the most part. So I'll give us 2 beats because we come in on beat 3. So go ahead and put your hands where they go and the foot's on the pedal, and here we go. Ready and go, and. Repeat.